never abandon oneself. And it doesn't matter if you're at your rope's end, or if you're in the corner, or you're pinned down, or you're in the trenches somewhere and working away with whatever's going on. And I'm emphasizing because at one point I was in that type of a position. And there is a ferocious energy on the inside with whatever the adversity is the ability to overcome that and simply to up-level it at any moment. And it takes a lot of guts. Now, there's a quote that I read from Rumi many years ago. Please do not, it's not as per verbatim with this. And it goes along something like this, that when we show up here with our soul. And with whatever happens as we integrate from the spiritual world into this physical world, the key ingredient here is when you leave here, please make sure that you leave here with your soul intact. And this is where I'm emphasizing with never abandon yourself, because unfortunately most of humanity, they've been disconnected from a younger age. They've been completely disconnected. And that includes the last generation of the souls, or the old souls, and in particular are the master number type souls. So when the souls like this, when they show up here, they've invested, or they're investing a lot of time, a lot of resources, and a lot of energy prior to us volunteering on behalf of the soul and then splashing into this place. And I'm sharing this because behind this, when we leave this world, there's a whole other world beyond this. And the major importance, or one of the major importances of showing up here, is this is a volunteered assignment. And the sooner I figured that one out, and there was no way out until it was my time to say, or it was the soul's time or the universe's time to say it's time to leave now, it became very, very evident that there's a contract here that has to be dealt with in this physical world. Meaning, whatever is in this low vibrational 3D world, energetically, this is what needs to be released. Any of the strife, any of the tension, whatever the animosity, whatever the cultural background, whatever the interferences are, whatever any of the past vows or past agreements that are long obsolete, any of the obsolete, negative, specifically the negative or critical energies emotionally, they all need to be cut and released from the family, the culture, the religion. And then at one point you go back to childhood, and then including with that all of the past lifetimes. And we're able to do that very, very easily now because we're in a 5D type consciousness. And I got inspired with writing that, or with creating this here, because that's been the one key ingredient that the more that kept working on me, everything else in my world started to change. And I'm sharing this to inspire others that it's an inside job. It's not on the outside. It's what's on the inside. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And my breaking point with this is, at one point as a commercial pilot, I thought I had it. And then at one point I spent some time with myself with this, and then I was like, oh my God, this is all an inside job. So what I'm mentioning here with never abandon oneself, and especially if it's getting married, or if it's having kids, or having a career, and then along the way, if one gives up, that's not an option. Or if one's, I say more in another world that I lived in, professionally driven. And for anyone that's at home as a mommy, that's a full-time profession on its own as well. I tip my hat to any of the single moms that are there, or the single dads. That's a lot more. It's a lot more of the accountability and a responsibility involved. And I'm sharing this with never abandoning oneself, because if that goes, everything else goes. And it scared me at times, or it saddened me at times when I saw, well, at one point that I've had this massive hunger and this massive drive with continuing to elevate and grow, and I mean, I had my ups and downs with a lot of things. There were areas that I was good at. There was other areas where I sucked at. And I acknowledged it. I said, okay, it's time for me to adjust the course here and do something else. As long as I didn't give up, and I kept moving with it. So a major ingredient for me with this was the gift of tenacity and being perseverant. And I'm sharing this because when we show up here, none of us are here on a picnic. It doesn't matter if it's living the good life or not the good life, and it doesn't matter on which country or which nationality that we're all born in. We're all coming here for a different flavor, a different type of an experience. And the soul, from the soul's perspective, from the soul's awareness, it's aware of wherever we're splashing into this physical realm, that we're all coming here for something different. And yet on the same hand, it's all pretty much the same thing. Everything has a vibration and an energy to it. It's an emotional attachment to it. And unfortunately, when there's any interference, or when the interference happens from childhood or from the family, the culture, or religion, and when a person gets off course of this, or where the soul had the intention of taking a person in a certain direction, and then when the soul disconnects from a younger age, from whatever that interference is from this 3D world, then we wind up going, well, I wound up going all over the place. And yeah, I still had a cheap aim at the time. And then it became very, very clear that I was coming here to do something else. Something completely off my radar, and I had no freaking clue about it. And it's not about working hard. It's about working smart with it and with total ease and with total grace. What saved me is I need to have the right information, I need to have the right insight, and the right person to physically guide me through this. And once I had an understanding of what was going on, I had an understanding of the rules of the game, which is the key ingredient. The rest of it was on me, or it's on you with whatever you're doing. Never abandoning oneself. That had I given my personal responsibility, or had I given my energy to somebody else, or if I had completely neglected or negated myself with this, there's no way where I'd be where I'm at today with this. And that was a tough pill to swallow. And it didn't matter what was going on, what was in front of me, what was behind, to the left, to the right, or whatever the circumstances. At one point I had to take full ownership of it. And even if there was several options, and they could have all been the tougher options, just find the one that might be a little less tougher to deal with, and work with it. I'm sharing this because at one point, the life here it's short. I am hearing that the med beds are coming out. It's an opportunity to age regress back 30 years. And right now, the technology, you can go back, you can do this 3 times throughout your physical lifetime. And it's also an opportunity to up level into the 5D. And for those that don't wish to change or anything, you're going to remain here in the 3D, and that's a choice. I'm sharing this because humanity's been stuck. At one point, I was very stuck. And I had mastered well, and I made a decision at one point that when the right information came on my radar, I said, I'm going to do something with this. And the biggest thing I had to do is I had to take a massive step back for a while, and then I had to clear everything from the inner foundation. And I acknowledge this with the universe. I acknowledge this with my soul. And that was actually like a tough one. I gave up my dream job as a commercial pilot, and it was kind of like, wow, this is the universe. The universe gave me enough experiences or enough lessons and enough golden nuggets that I felt confident at the time that when I did take the leap of faith with it, that I knew everything was going to work out. I really had to put the work in, and there was no shortcuts with it. And I'm sharing this because at one point, when the clock's done here, I'm making sure that I'm doing things to the best of my ability, and that when I do see the maker, with my soul and with the person upstairs, that with whatever I was given, I was able to make the most of it. And especially from the soul's perspective, because the souls have a lot of insight, they have a lot of knowledge. And the soul's counting on myself and every one of us, that when we show up here, we live in this physical realm. This is a place where you can unplug all of the lower emotional friction, all of the lower emotional entanglements. And once you clear that out, then your gifts, your insight, your purpose, your direction, or all of it for me, started to show up on my radar. So some food for thought. Take care of yourself. I like to say, when you're in the airplane, when the masks come down, I had to put the mask on me first before anybody else. So, some food for thought. Till next time, be kind with yourself, treat each other well, take care.